Hiya, friends. Thanks so much for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. I do know a lot of you out there already, but in case we haven't met yet, my name is Brian Schultz. I am the incoming Artistic Managing Director for the Aberdeen Community Theater. Yeah. In light of that, I'd like to kick things off with a quote from the late, great Johnny Carson that he said on his very first episode of The Tonight Show back in 1962. He said, "This is kind of an emotional thing for me because I've known about this transition for a very long time. A lot of people I've come across have offered some very lovely encouragement and well wishes, and you get kind of charged up. And I don't mean to sound maudlin about it, but I know that tonight we've got a lot of friends gathered here, and we have some friends watching tonight online. And I only have one feeling standing here, knowing that so many people are gathered waiting to see how things unfold tonight. I want my Nana." As we get started tonight, there are some folks that I would like to thank. I'd first like to thank the Aberdeen Community Theater Board of Directors, President Linda Bartholomew, Vice President David Nicholas, Secretary Dr. Kurt Wishmeyer, Treasurer Kathy Stuck, Members at Large Linda Bettine, Kelly Comstock, Barb Evans, and Barb McGarrah, and our legal counsel Rory King. It's their personal financial contributions that have made this evening possible. Let's give them a round of applause. And also for putting together this fun shindig tonight, the ACT staff, Education Coordinator Claire Vetter, the Theater Techs and Facility Coordinators Zach Lopez and Paige Wealth-Teedy, our Box Office and Capital Cinema Manager Stephen Huber, our Community Relations and Finance Assistant Teresa Leifson, and our ACT volunteer and NCOA trainee Dan McQuillan. A round of applause for them too. I'd also like to thank tonight Warren Redmond, former board member and longtime ACT volunteer who is helping out with tonight's event, as well as Mary Marion, who's got a special treat for us later tonight, Sandy Sullivan, Julie Schultz, Mary Cahey for the refreshment planning and execution, and then Tracy Vogel, Wayne Hansen, and Greg Gilbertson for helping us capture this event for posterity. You know, it's a funny thing. The gentleman that we are here to honor, thank, and pay tribute tonight seems so familiar, like we've seen him somewhere before. You know that sense that you get when you meet someone and you think, where do I know that guy from? And believe me, over the years, from several people around town, I've gotten plenty of comparisons, guesses, and near misses. For example, I've heard Hank Williams Jr. I've heard Robin Williams. Robin Williams from the Birdcage specifically, because I'm sure a lot of you remember from the days of yore when someone we all know and love used to run around the lobby before every show wearing those cheap Radio Shack headsets, checking his watch every 30 seconds. But probably the most common, Richard Dreyfuss. But no, the gentleman tonight is none of those guys. Tonight we're here to honor a gentleman who has been with the Aberdeen Community Theater since the very beginning. It was 45 years ago this past November that Act 2 was incorporated. This gentleman has been around for all 45 years, serving the last 39 as Artistic Managing Director. In that time, under his leadership, hundreds of productions have featured the talents of thousands of volunteers who have logged hours numbering well into the millions. And if you've met me, you know I have mapped this out. Many of you here tonight have called him friend even longer than the life of ACT. Many of you call him friend because of ACT, whether you helped with dozens of shows or only one show. Personally, I've been fortunate to call him boss, colleague, and friend for the last 23 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Walker. Stand and wave if you like. Or just sit and wave, it's fine. Well, you may not have heard the song, but if you recognize the song, that is the classic 1972 song, You Don't Mess Around with Jim. I can neither confirm nor deny for you that the song is about ACT's Jim Walker. In fact, in June of 1972, when this song was first released, Jim was just shy of his 15th birthday. And he wasn't quite yet the pool-shooting son of a gun that the song suggests. We shall investigate further and get back to you. And in other shocking news, the 1979 hit My Sharona was also not about Jim Walker. It was, in fact, about Sharona. Jim, you and I have often joked that people don't stay in careers for a lifetime anymore. Nobody stays in a job long enough to collect their gold watch. Well, tonight we're here to say thank you for your years of service and to offer you a warm handshake and a gold watch. I'm sorry to say the gold watch is on back order. It should be here in 4 to 6 weeks. I'll just drop it in the mail to you. And with that, thank you all for coming. Have a good night. Now, I think it's more appropriate to take a little trip down memory lane to better understand how we got to this time and this place tonight. What follows is what I believe to be the most authentic, accurate, and well thought out factual account of Jim's illustrious multi-decade career. This was all pieced together from various accounts from you folks, as well as personal anecdotes and pure hearsay. If anything doesn't quite pass muster, well, as I'm fond of saying, never let the facts get in the way of a good story. So, here we go. Flashback to 1962-63. Jim's theatrical career began with a kindergarten performance at Sacred Heart Elementary School. If you were to get enough Riesling into him, he could perform it for you, step for step, word for word. I have heard this song. It is a delight. His early training continued at Roncalli High School, then Northern State College. Don Hall, one of the founders of ACT, and an arts and entertainment reporter for the Aberdeen American News at the time, having watched Jim's talents unfold, had these words to say in print. Quote, Jim showed unusual promise for a high schooler in Roncalli shows directed by Sister Pam Donnellan, and he first aroused Northern's curiosities in the 1976 production of Sweet Charity. The following year's production of Neil Simon's The Good Doctor featured Jim in the title role, showing amazing versatility for his age and experience, earning him an Irene Ryan nomination for the American College Theater Festival. He wowed audiences as Snoopy in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. His Will Parker caused one theater goer to exclaim, I can count 18 Parkers in as many productions of Oklahoma. This is the best Parker ever. And before graduating in the spring of 1980, Jim appeared as Sakini, the Okinawan translator in Tea House of the August Moon, which prompted this letter to the editor. Jim Walker in the role of Sakini was tremendous. And along with the terrific supporting cast director and the entire drama department, the whole evening was delightful. Thank you. End quote. In the late 1970s, there was no community theater to be found in the Aberdeen area. The last community theater group, Prairie Players, had disbanded. And Stage One, Northern's professional theater company, similar to today's Northern Fort Playhouse, had also gone defunct. So, 1979 found Jim with work-study hours to burn, not desiring to mow lawns on campus or wax the floors, or even worse, go sling tar for his father Lyle, who was Brown County's highway superintendent at the time. He approached theater director Richard Norquist and Northern's president Joseph McFadden about resurrecting summer theater. He promised he would do all the tech if Norquist would just direct, and they would utilize both Northern students and members of the community. Both agreed, and in the summer of 1979, Northern mounted Spoon River Anthology and Vanities. The success of these productions led Norquist and Don Hall to approach the Aberdeen Area Arts Council for a $30 loan for postage, encouraging anyone interested in making this college community theater collaboration a more permanent thing, to attend a meeting in the branch room of the Ward Hotel. And so in November of 1979, Act Two, Aberdeen College Community Theater, the two working together as one, was incorporated. The fledgling theater company mounted their first production in the summer of 1980, Annie Get Your Gun, and Jim missed it. He was on vacation in Colorado at the time, but he did return to Aberdeen just in time for auditions for Act Two's follow-up production later that summer, See How They Run, a farce by Philip King, which featured Jim as the sprightly Clive Winton, an American Air Force corporal turned vicar. Look at that fantastic hang time and the heels on those shoes. And so, the rest was history? No, not quite. After a few stints in college, he thought he'd give this whole directing thing another whirl. So he took the easy way out and did See How They Run again, just 4 months later, down in the community of Faulkton. Thus began his career, as most theater professionals do, hopping from town to town, nabbing whatever gig he could around the area. In 1981, he appeared at the Guthrie Theater, appearing in A Christmas Carol, which was also filmed for the Arts and Entertainment Network, back when they actually had arts and entertainment. He formed his own theatrical company, James Walker Vagabond Theatrics, where Jim and some of his college buddies would design, build, costume choreograph, and direct community theater productions in surrounding towns, most notably in Faulkton, Redfield, Miller, and Wall. In 1984 and 85, he was part of the Dakota Theater Caravan, a professional nonprofit theater company based in South Dakota that toured more than 80 South Dakota communities, also toured across the United States, and also did a 2-month tour of more than 40 American military bases across Europe. Between those big league gigs, he would occasionally slum with the little people of Act Two, directing, designing, acting, basically anything that needed done. He soon discovered that being a one-man show in the tech department was starting to look a little self-congratulatory in the programs, so he thought he would be sneaky and use some clever pseudonyms. So we see in programs James Lyle Walker, James L. Walker, Jim Walker, James Lyle, J. Lyle, Lyle James, Jimmy, Jimbo, Big Jim, and Slim Jim. Patrons were none the wiser. Finally, in 1985, Jim was named ACT's Artistic Managing Director, with Jim offering the following condition. If the theater was unable to turn a profit, he would work for free. Act Two's board of directors at the time, knowing a good deal when they saw it, decided to jump at the offer. And so for the first year of his tenure, Jim did indeed work for free, but somehow still managed to avoid slinging tar for his father to make ends meet. An unrelated story about this new position for Jim, his good friend Sonia Niles tells me that in 1985, Jim's first gray hair suddenly popped out of nowhere at the tender age of 28. When she pointed this out to him, he merely quipped, it's probably nothing. And here's Jim in 1986. 1992 was a monumental year, which saw ACT finally acquire the historic and conveniently vacant Capitol Theater to be Jim's home, ACT's home. The theater acquisition, I was probably right the first time. The theater acquisition, along with the purchase of 7,480 square feet of the former JCPenney building as essential support space, propelled ACT's growth to new heights. The next 32 years would see hundreds of productions, theater festivals, as well as the transformation of the Capitol Theater into the top quality theater facility it is today. And while all of that history is well documented, I'd like to take a few moments to mark this momentous passage of time with a lesser known evolution. I'm speaking, of course, of the Bath Schoolhouse. Many of you know that Jim purchased the old schoolhouse in Bath, remodeling the upper floor classrooms into beautiful living space, while the garden level and basement was designated as storage for the theater, including the gymnasium. Many longtime volunteers will recall the cast parties out at Jim's and the basketball games in Jim's gym. I started volunteering in 1996 and attended my first cast party out there after the summer musical Oliver. And yes, the rumors were true. Full court basketball, men and women, shirts and skins, into the wee small hours of the morning. I'll give you a moment to let that sink in. That's right. As the years progressed and more unique antiques, all for the theater, I am assured. As more and more antiques started to appear, games went from full court to half court, to the top of the key, to free throws, to horse. Nowadays, we can only sigh and remark, hey, remember when we used to play basketball down there? During his tenure as Aberdeen Community Theater's artistic managing director, Jim took on other professional appointments, which not only helped establish him as a community-minded leader, but also helped grow ACT's reputation, including stints with the Aberdeen Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Aberdeen Area Arts Council, the Chamber of Commerce, South Dakotans for the Arts, the South Dakota Theater Association, the South Dakota Arts Council, having served chair as a number of years as well, and the American Association of Community Theater, being named an AACT prestigious fellow, and a jolly good one at that, in 2015. And most recently, he was serving as the vice president of festivals. Jim, always a believer in the educational and the entertainment value of sharing theater with one another, ensured ACT's participation in every biennial Act Fest through the American Association of Community Theater since 1981. Several of his productions advanced from the South Dakota State Festival to the Region 5 Festival, with 2 productions advancing to nationals and 1 advancing to an international festival. Along with his volunteers receiving many fine accolades at these festivals in their own right, Jim picked up plenty of hardware for direction and scene design. Just a quick rundown of award-winning productions for either ACT or Jim personally include 1981, You Know I Can't Hear You When the Water's Running, the South Dakota State Festival winner. 1987, Burning Desire. 1989, Welcome Home. 1991, Laughing Wild, the South Dakota State Festival winner. 1995, The Shock of Recognition for scenic design. 1999, The Complete Works of William Shakespeare, abridged. 2001, The Complete Works of William Shakespeare, abridged. Finally, the South Dakota State winner. 2003, The Diary of Adam and Eve, the South Dakota State Festival winner, along with an award for scenic design. 2005, Honk, awards for direction. 2007, Honk again. Finally winning the South Dakota State Festival, then the Region 5 Festival, ultimately placing 3rd at nationals, as well as awards for directing and scenic design. 2008, Honk again, this time advancing to the World Festival of Children's Performing Arts in Toyama, Japan. 2009, How to Talk Minnesotan the Musical, the South Dakota State Festival winner, the Region 5 Festival winner, and also awards for directing and scenic design. And then finally in 2017, Mavis Pleads the Fourth, the South Dakota State Festival winner. Other high honors Jim has received over the years include, in 1989, the Special Individual Support of the Arts from the Aberdeen Arts Council Friends of the Arts Award. In 1999, also the Friends of the Arts Award for Outstanding Support in the Arts. In 2000, the Abby Award, People's Choice. 2015, the AACT Prestigious Fellow Award. And in 2022, the Vitality Award. I mention all of this because anybody who knows Jim knows that he is not one to toot his own horn. In fact, for the last several minutes, I've been watching him squirm in his seat right there. But Jim, I've chosen to share all of this for a number of reasons. Some of our friends here tonight have no idea that they've been working in the presence of greatness all these years. Other friends here, I hope, are enjoying reminiscing about some of the old glory days. And I believe all of our friends here tonight would like to celebrate the good times, the triumphs, and the many accomplishments that you have led us through. You did not have to stay here. You could have gone on to other things, greener pastures and bigger ponds. This may be just rumor, but somebody told me a long time ago that over the years you've received several offers, several lucrative offers to go lead other theaters. But you didn't. You chose to stay here. You chose to invest your time, your talent, your heart, your soul, your very being to this community, to this building, and to each and every person who's ever walked through these doors. You always said that no one person is community theater and that the volunteers are the backbone of the Aberdeen Community Theater, and that is absolutely true. But it is also absolutely true that every worthy endeavor has had a strong leader with an inspired vision that everyone else can rally behind. That's the role you've played for every single person in this room, and each one of us is better for it. And for that, from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you. Now, I just rocketed through a nearly 60-year career in a relatively short amount of time, and I'm very thankful I didn't hear this once. If you'd like to know more details about Jim's storied history in the theater, including all the juicy tidbits, seedy underbelly, and sordid details, be looking for his upcoming unauthorized autobiography, Finding a New Balance, My Life in the Theater. Available at fine retailers, coming soon. Tastemakers are certain that solid color sweatshirts, black jeans, and white New Balance tennis shoes will soon become just as iconic as Charlie Brown's zigzag shirts and the Fonzie's white t-shirt and leather jacket. And now, folks, I would like to introduce to you a gentleman who made his stage debut with ACT in 1987 and then reprised the role again in 2010, appearing as Charlie Baker in The Foreigner. But most of you may know him as Ted Sullivan. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome back to the stage longtime volunteer and former ACT board member, Warren Redmond.
That's a tough act to follow. I have a few prepared notes that I thought I'd go through if I can only read my own handwriting. Being a physician, that can be a real chore. But as Brian mentioned, I first became aware of ACT when I moved to town in '82. And my wife, then wife Jane, and I attended a production of Greater Tuna, which was done out at the Elks Club. And being aware that there was a community theater in town, I found that a couple years later, in 1987, that my mother-in-law passed away down in Oklahoma, and my wife Jane and my son went down to settle the estate for a month. And I was left at home with time on my hands, and I noticed that there was a notification in the paper saying they were having tryouts for a production called The Foreigner. And I thought, well, what the hell. I'll go down and give it a whirl. Maybe they'll give me some supporting role somewhere. And that began my acquaintance with Jim. And initially, as a director and a mentor, and I can certainly attest to the fact that was in full bloom at that particular point in his directorial career. Over the passing years, we developed into fellow travelers as we supported one another through professional and personal challenges, personal losses, financial ups and downs. The friendship that we developed was not only with each other, but the entire ACT family, which enabled both of us to literally retain a hold on our collective sanities. It's very difficult for me to really express what being with the ACT did for me personally while I was recovering from my wife's passing. It was a real rock for me. It was people that I could work with a purpose, and it really helped me recover from a personal loss. And for that, I'll always be eternally grateful for both Jim and the theater community here. It was a real blessing, and it really helped me retain what I had left of my wits. I watched Jim literally start from scratch and build ACT into what it is today. His sound financial management saved ACT from following in the footsteps of other community theaters such as Madison and repeatedly in Sioux Falls. The current fund drive will hopefully ensure ACT's viability for decades to come. But sometimes our attention focuses on the physical aspects of ACT, the building, the seating, the sets, the costumes, props, etc., and we can lose sight of the intangible assets of being with ACT, the striving together for a common goal again and again fosters a camaraderie that forms a caring community. And it really hits home for everyone that's involved with the production. You work together, you see the immediate response from the audience, and you realize that you've made a difference. And it also creates a huge void when you have to tear the set down and go back home to the same old dull life you've been leaving all along. We also may overlook the effect that ACT has on the community as well. I'm sure everyone in ACT has had a kind of a sentinel moment that crystallizes what ACT means to them. And to me, the one particular thing that stands out was during the production of Escanaba into Moonlight. Hollis Hurlburt came to see his two sons, who were both on stage. Hollis at that time was in the end stage of a nasty battle with cancer, but he still managed to attend. And I think I can even remember approximately where he was sitting in the audience. After the show, he remarked that it was the first time in months that he had laughed. He passed away shortly afterward, but to this day, I can really treasure the fact that for a brief moment, we alleviated the pain and the suffering that he was going through. And even if it was for a short time. So I'll try not to get too maudlin about this, but so in tonight, I pay tribute to a man who followed his dream and allowed the rest of us to accompany him on his journey. And here's to you, Jim. Long may you wave, or the land of the free and the home of the brave. Play ball.
Well, thank you, Warren. We appreciate that very much. Now, not everyone was able to be here tonight, and interestingly, some people that you are about to see on the screen are here tonight. Huh. But up next, we have a collection of quick video greetings to share from a variety of people, ACT volunteers, old friends, colleagues, and some random guy named Chris Root, whoever the hell that is. So take a look at this.
Happy retirement, Jim. It's the McGarrett family here, and I'm so thankful for everything you've done at the Aberdeen Community Theater and in the Aberdeen community. I loved being a part of Honk. I loved sharing it with my friends, and it truly was a shell of a good time.
Yeah. Thank you for creating the Aberdeen Community Theater. It allowed me to be creative as an artist, starting as a YPTer, and then it evolved all the way to being a performer on the main stage and having choreography opportunities for the main stage as well.
Jim, just want to thank you for inviting me to the joys of the Pit Orchestra. Thank you for everything you've done for the community theater and Aberdeen.
The best part of the Aberdeen Community Theater is there is a role for everyone in our family, and we cherish our Nepotism is Relative award. And I just like to say that I am so grateful for all the opportunities for my family and my chance to go from being a stage mom to a board member. We love you, Jim.
Jim, it's been a pleasure to be a member of the Board of Directors of Aberdeen Community Theater, and it's been apparent that you're laying the plan for future continued success in at least 3 different ways. First, you've hired your own successor in the form of Brian Schultz, who in his own way is very committed and talented, and he's been busy taking mental photographs of you these past many years. Secondly, building itself was a goal of yours, a permanent home for Aberdeen Community Theater, and you were able to get this achieved with this beautiful building, which has been redone internally and externally. And not only that, you've added a movie theater for the showing of art films as you've done this. Thirdly, you've helped this organization plan for its future with the 2024 Capital Improvement Campaign. This will pay its own dividends for all of us in the future. Jim, this theater organization is who you are. All of your staff and all of your actors want to do their very best with a fine outcome because they want to make you proud of them. Jim, as a person and a board member, it's a privilege and an honor to be a part of your life. Thank you.
Hi, Jim. On behalf of the Aberdeen Area Chamber of Commerce, we just wanted to say thank you for all you have done with the theater and to bring great arts and culture programs to our community. We were so proud to give you the 2022 Vitality Award because you deserved it and have done so much for our community. Proud to have worked with you and wish you great success in the future. On behalf of the Chamber,
Congratulations on your retirement.
Hey Jim, it's been about 40 years since we met when I auditioned for Man of La Mancha. I was in 2 shows that summer, and as you know, it caused considerable tension in my marriage, but we've had a great start, and I just want to thank you for all of you've done for us, for the community, for me over the years. Thank you for your passion for the theater, which has resulted in a community theater that is the envy of the region. Thank you for your superb direction to hundreds of actors, allowing us to explore the souls of the characters we played. I played mostly old men in the last few years, and I think it's practice for real life here. Susie might feel like she identifies with Ethel Thayer, but I also want to thank you especially for your friendship over the years. You're a treasured friend, and I wish you the best in retirement. God bless you, and stay healthy.
Hey Jim, it's Gary. I just wanted to say it's just a pleasure to work with you on and off stage. My time as the marketing director at ACT was just amazing, and I loved every minute of it, and I miss it. just like we will miss you when you and Jerry take off and have fun and enjoy. Thanks.
Well, Jim, a special night to celebrate you. I'd like to thank you for everything you've done for the theater community in Aberdeen, but especially to thank you for what you've done for me. You took a chance on a kid back in 1989 and gave me a role in Oklahoma. I got to play Will Parker, and here I am 35 some years later, and it's given me lasting friendships, been able to have an outlet for what I assume is some talent. I've been able to sing and dance, and I'm still kissing girls and shooting guns, and most of those girls are way too young to be with an old guy like me, but here I am still doing it, and I have you to thank that I've had this outlet with this great group of theater people, from the costumers to the makeup people to especially you and the office staff. I'd like to thank you for giving my kids an opportunity. You've really, in a sense, given me my two greatest gifts with Ava and Jackson, because I wouldn't have met Jennifer and we wouldn't have had these two great kids, and I've been lucky enough to do shows with them, with Christmas Story and White Christmas. So I just can't thank you enough for what you've done for me personally, but what you've done for this whole community, and built this theater, what it's done and what it's going to continue to do. So I just want to thank you for all the years of service and for being a friend. If your platform disco shoes could talk, we'd tell lots of stories, and lots of stories of going to the Flame every night after rehearsal. I know we couldn't do it again, but we could sure give it a heck of a try. So thanks, Jim. I wish you the best.
Hey Jim, congratulations from the Aberdeen Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. We just want to thank you for all you've done for downtown events, hosting group tours, and really just welcoming visitors as they come to the area. Enjoy your retirement. You've earned it. Thank you again.
Hi Jim. I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for the last 40 plus years that you've given your blood, your sweat, your tears, but mostly your love in making the Aberdeen Community Theater one of the premier community theaters in the area. Throughout the years, there have been many people who have contributed to the growth of the Aberdeen Community Theater, but you have been the driving force, the constant driving force in making this theater a success. When people think of Aberdeen Community Theater, they think of Jim Walker. Relax, enjoy your retirement, do something fun, know that we always love you. Thanks.
Hello, Jim. And for those who don't know, this is Patrick Baker, the Executive Director of the South Dakota Arts Council. I've had the great privilege of working with Jim Walker as a board member of the South Dakota Arts Council for nearly a decade now. And the first thing that jumps to mind about Jim is that nobody runs a meeting better than Jim Walker. Whether we were reviewing 400 grant applications at a spring meeting and needed to somehow manage to get through all of that in time, you know, in a 2-hour meeting or something reasonable like that. Again, Jim Walker is the best of the best when it comes to running a meeting. But far more importantly than that, Jim is, bar none, just a tremendous champion of the arts. And it's very apparent when you're around him how much he does care. You see that energy flow into all of the work he does in supporting the arts. And last but certainly not least, there's a warmth to Jim that I just love. I love being around the guy. He's always got a smile. Whenever I see him, he's dedicated. He comes to everything, but he's always comes in with a smile and a big hug. And I love getting that big hug from Jim. And I hope to continue working with you for many, many years to come, even though we will let you walk away officially and retire. Jim, I have loved working with you for the past near decade, and I look to many, many more years of friendship over the years. And thank you for all you've done for the South Dakota Arts Council, for the community of Aberdeen, and well beyond. Thank you.
Hi, Jim. Congratulations on your retirement and the fabulous job you've done for the Aberdeen Community Theater, the many national and international plays that you've performed in contests, and for the hard work on all of the community theater boards. Thanks, Jim.
Hi, Jim. Aberdeen Community Theater means a lot of things to a lot of people. Since I was just a little girl, a long time ago now, for me, Aberdeen Community Theater has always meant Jim Walker. I could hardly have imagined on stage at the age of 8 that my path would bring me back decades later to the theater and to you at this stage in my life. Thanks for being the best boss. We'll miss you, but I hope we'll make you proud. Best wishes to you and Jerry and all your new adventures in retirement. Cheers.
It's a joy to send this greeting to Jim and to the entire ACT family about our interactions and just the love and joy that we've had participating in the Aberdeen Community Theater with Jim over the past 20 plus years. And our original introduction was simply my sitting in the seats saying I could do that. And Jim being a very encouraging director to lead people who were new without theater experience to get on stage.
That led into me getting a job. I worked with Jim for 18 years. They were the happiest years of my life. So much enjoyed my job, so much enjoyed all of the volunteers, and especially working with Jim day in and day out.
And we're glad that we got to enjoy going so many places with you. Minden, Nebraska, Sioux City, Tacoma, Washington, Charlotte, North Carolina, and Japan. The adventures of the theater don't end just at the stage. It's also been a joy simply to call you a friend. Your grace, your love, your patience, and just your warm-heartedness towards us as a couple, as well as all those who are part of the Aberdeen Community Theater family. It's just been a true pleasure and joy.
We love you and we wish you all the best.
Hey Jim, we just want to say thank you so much for all the dedication and time you have given to ACT, from being the director in Life with Father with little Lucas to being my boss for 3 years. We both have learned so much from you, and we appreciate you so much. We love you, and we wish you the absolute best in your retirement.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate you so much. Be well. Take care.
Happy retirement!
Happy retirement, Jim. We're going to miss you. We're running around here, but I know you need some time to travel and relax. I first met you when I lived in Faulkton, and you would come down and help with theater work down there. Then when I moved to Aberdeen in 1987, you were a few years from taking over the theater here, and you called and wanted to know if I were interested in helping, but I didn't realize that meant scraping the gum off of the floor of the theater. I guess I was cheap help, but I wish you the very, very best in retirement. Travel, relax, and thank you for all that you have done for the theater and for the city of Aberdeen.
Hi Jim, congratulations on your retirement. You're joining me and the rest of us that have nothing to do all day. I'm told you're really successful and really good director and a really good actor. I have no expertise in those areas, so I'll take people's word for it. I did see you come to the council a few times and put on an act there to try to get some money out of us. And you put on your humility, I'm just a poor theater guy act. And it was good. It was usually a little too long. Had me reaching for my gavel a few times, but eventually we got you to finish talking and we got you some money. The thing I admire the most about you is that you make people happy just by being around them, and you make people appreciate themselves because I think they see how you appreciate them. You have a lot of skills, Jim, and again, I don't know if being a theater manager is one of the skills based on what I know about theater, but the fact that you've managed to maintain this at the level it is for so long, when other theater groups and other theater entities around the Dakotas have struggled and some have come and gone, and their managers and their directors have come and gone, and you've stayed here and you have just been great year after year. So keep it up. And if you can't find anything to do, come on up and we'll go for a walk.
Quiet backstage!
Hi, Jim. This is Dan, your guide, is congratulating you on your retirement after God knows how many years at the Community Theater. I remember when I first met you about 20 years ago, I offered to do South Pacific for you. At the time you said you thought you'd give me a little more time before you dragged me down to the theater to do stuff. Well, I'm glad I got dragged down there, and I've had a great time working with you all these years. I hope you have plenty to keep you busy during retirement, and I hope some of it continues to be involved theater. So have a great retirement, Jim, and it's been a pleasure working with you.
Hey Jim, I heard you say recently that you've been at this thing called theater for the last 44 years. And then I began to realize that for the last 30 of those 44 years, I've been working as musical director for many of those musicals. In 1994, you invited me to be the rehearsal pianist for a show called Cinderella, being produced on the main stage of Johnson Fine Arts Center down at Northern State University. That began my fix for musical theater. You've been a mentor, a teacher. You've influenced a young man who stood and watched his mom do what she loves. And now Mark and I are the proud parents of the musical director of Signet Theater in San Diego, California, our son Patrick. But most of all, you've been a friend. I wish you the very best on your retirement. I will miss your hugs the most. Please don't be a stranger. I love you, and I thank you.
Hey Jim, this is your favorite and by far the best Rude calling you from my car to wish you a happy retirement. When Brian Schultz texted me and told me you were retiring, I was really confused because in my head, you had retired a long, long time ago. And then my confusion turned to denial, and then anger, and rage. I went through all the 7 stages: horniness, hunger, and now I'm at acceptance. I was thinking back about some of my favorite memories with you, and I have to say I'm still really angry because, as I recall, you were really against all of the nudity that Dan and Tim and I were advocating for in the complete works of William Shakespeare. You put your foot down, made a directorial decision. Some would say a dictatorial decision. Tim and Dan and I were arguing that the nudity, which would be tastefully done, would not have been gratuitous, would not have been salacious. It would have been very tastefully done. And there would have been a lot of full frontal male nudity. That's true. But it would have only been from the waist down, and you said no. And I think that was a mistake. You know, instead of a great show, we had a show that was merely adequate, but lacked the smooth swimmer-like body of Dan Hurlbert and the less smooth, lumpier body of Tim Berger. That's so stupid. All right, well, anyway, happy retirement.
Hi, Jim. Congratulations on your retirement. Thank you for everything that you have done for the theatrical arts in Aberdeen, the excellence and vibrancy that you have demanded throughout all of your years. On behalf of Kevin, Roseanne, and Tom, I want to thank you for our opportunities to direct, perform, volunteer, and attend. Wishing you a wonderful retirement. And I know if our friend Don Hall was still here, he would write you a raving review of what you've done for the Aberdeen Community Theater. Thank you and have a great time.
Hi, Jim. I am so thrilled to have this opportunity to celebrate you and the incredible milestone of your retirement. Jim, your contributions over the years have been truly remarkable, not just in your career at Aberdeen Community Theater, but also at AACT, the American Association of Community Theater. Through your passion and leadership, you've helped bring stories to life, inspired countless individuals, and created a sense of connection that only the arts can provide. Your work with ActFest is nothing short of legendary. You brought together artists and audiences, both virtual and in person, from across the country, championing creativity and showing the world just how powerful community theater can be. Your dedication has left a lasting impact, not just on the stage, but in the hearts of everyone who's been lucky enough to work with you. Congratulations, Jim, on a well-deserved retirement. From all of us, thank you for your incredible impact. And here's to a future filled with joy, adventure, and maybe another standing ovation or two. Take care and congratulations again. Bravo.
Up next, I'd like to introduce a young lady who has been a friend of Jim's and a friend of ACT for a long time. Her involvement in community theater goes back even farther than Jim's, all the way back to 1975 when Faulkton revived their community theater. Here she is, on your right, in Faulkton's 1983 production of Annie Get Your Gun, directed by Jim. Her involvement in community theater continues to this day. In addition to serving on the Faulkton Area Arts Council, she currently serves as ACT's board president. Please help me welcome Linda Bartholomew.
Not off script yet, Jim. Well, as was mentioned earlier, I first met Jim in 1980 when he came to Faulkton, fresh off graduating from Northern in May, to direct See How They Run. But what you don't know, however, is that he might have changed his career path after the show in Faulkton. We had a particular cast member that was having a problem that was starting to impact the show. And one particular night after rehearsal, Jim was staying at our home at the time. We came home after rehearsal, and he came into the house. He said, "I need a drink." Well, good news is the show went off without hitch, pretty much, and was enjoyed by all, although I know that Jim was holding his breath each night until the end of the performance. After that experience, though, I was afraid he would put Faulkton in the rearview mirror and never look back. Fortunate for us, however, he didn't run away, but ended up coming back and was involved in 6 more productions. Annie Get Your Gun was one that really stood out, and one particular stunt that was put together. Picture Annie in the back of the Legion Hall in Faulkton on a motorcycle, revving the motor, and then heading to the stage, and then riding a ramp onto the stage. It brought the house down, needless to say. And we had a huge sigh of relief also that it worked. You all have your own special memories over the years of knowing Jim and his dream of theater being a part of his life. The numerous fundraising that went on in the early years. As Jim has said, you were vagabonds, shows in different venues around Aberdeen. And then the Capitol Cabaret here in this theater, looking a little worse for wear at the time, with no theater seats, sitting at small tables on a raked floor. But look at it now, and soon to celebrate its 100th birthday. Back in 1980, in an article in the Faulkton paper announcing his first show as director in Faulkton, Jim's bio said, his personal goals were to achieve a professional actor status and to someday own and operate his own dinner theater establishment. Well, here we are, 44 years later. Jim, you overachiever. Under your guidance, ACT has become the shining star of community theater in South Dakota. But that's not all. Your love of theater and how it can enrich our lives has given so much to your beloved hometown and to all of us. And now it's time to take care of yourself. Take time to breathe. Take time to just be. But just because you are retiring doesn't mean we won't see the last of you. We know that. You always will be a part of this theater. On behalf of the AC Board of Directors, I'm happy to announce, henceforth, you will have a new title. James Walker, Aberdeen Community Theater Artistic Director Emeritus. Thank you, Jim, for all you've given, for all you've done. Love you.
Now, Jim, we have a special treat for you. Because I know this hasn't been enough yet. I promised you this evening would last under 3.5 hours, and so far we're well on track. But no evening at the theater will be complete without a little song and dance number, so some of our volunteers have gotten together to do a little song called For Good from the hit musical Wicked. You, however, will be providing the dance number. So, as our friends gather on stage, I'd like to segue into a short video of the only show that Jim and I got to perform together on stage. Take a look at this while our friends join us on stage.
Of the Nile,
Well, as Jim hugs each and every person as they walk off stage, that's perfectly fine. So he won't hear this confession that I'm about to make. You see, yeah, go ahead, hug away. You see, in 1996, as I mentioned before, that was my first production with Aberdeen Community Theater. And the summer musical that year was Oliver. And I had just met Jim and Jerry at the time, and boy, was I broke. Like rolling pennies for gas broke. And somehow Jim got word of this, and he called me into the theater one day, and he said, tell you what, I'll pay you if you come down to the lake cabin in Cottonwood and paint the cabin for me. So I went down to, I accepted the job because, boy, I needed the cash. And I worked on painting, but it never failed every single day that I would get down to the cabin. I would get no more than 20 minutes in when Jerry would come rolling in from the farm and say, Brian, boy, you look hot. Boy, you look tired. Don't you need a beer? Later, when Jim and I settled up, he wrote the check and said, I don't know why it takes anybody 6 weeks to paint a cabin. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to please welcome to the stage the man of the evening, Jim Walker.
I thought sure if I wrote all this down, that I'd be able to get up here and actually do it without. And so I apologize. Number one, thank you. Thank you all for coming. It means a great deal to me to have all of you here. Wonderful friends and family. Thank you for that lovely performance. I appreciate that immensely. Emeritus. Latin for having served out one's time. Honorably discharged from the performance of public duty on account of age, check. Infirmity, check. Or long and faithful service. I think I have been here long enough. I promise, even with the extreme gratitude that I have for each and every one of you, I will try and keep these remarks short. And I will read actually more than what I would like, because it will be quicker and honestly easier for me to manage to get through it without rambling, at least much. I would actually like to start with the future and not the past. By now you all know the Capitol Theater, our home, turns 100 years old in 2026. And as everyone here also is acutely aware by now, ACT has launched the Capitol Theater Improvement Campaign to raise $565,000. We are very fortunate to have received a couple of lead gifts. The Knight Foundation came on board with a gift of $75,000 with the South Dakota Community Foundation and the Aberdeen Area Community Foundation. Also, Michael and Barbara Evans also contributed another lead gift of $75,000, and Dakota Bank stepped up with $50,000. That gave us $200,000 to match, which would equal $400,000. I am happy to say that we have accomplished at least that with your help. If you do the math, however, that leaves $165,000 that we are now well on our way as a part of the last leg of this campaign. The campaign is being built on pledges over 3 years, 2024, 25, and 26. My goal is to have at least the $565,000 goal in pledges in place by the end of this year. That leaves 25 days, and with your continued help, we will get there. A big, heartfelt thank you to all of you who have already made a pledge to the campaign. There are many contributors here tonight, not only contributors to the current campaign, but to ACT in general, many for many, many years. Although unable to name them all, I would like to acknowledge a few, each giving tens of thousands of dollars over the years to support ACT. Linda and Dennis Bettine, Bill and Karen Edwards, and the aforementioned Barb and Mike Evans, Warren and Leanne Redman, Dee and Norg Sanderson, Kathy and Lauren Stuck, Joyce and Alan Walter, Kurt and Susan Wishmeyer, and Jeff and Michelle Wolf. As so many, and there are so many, many more contributors here tonight, I am truly humbled and eternally grateful for your support and the continued support of thousands of ACT supporters. And no matter what the amount, each and every one of your contributions has made a difference in the ACT legacy and programming here at the historic Capitol Theater. Thank you once again. I have committed to stay around as a volunteer and complete this current Capitol Theater Improvement Campaign and help oversee the scheduled renovations, because I know what it is like to run a campaign as well as run this theater and all the season programming. And so I thought I'd help Brian out for just a little bit longer. And now to my retirement and a bit of the past. After nearly 45 years, 32 here at the historic Capitol Theater, it is time to say goodbye to the only job that I have ever loved. To acknowledge my friends and the many volunteers who have become friends and indeed family over these decades, whom I have also grown to love and who have honestly fulfilled my life by creating indelibly etched memories. Some have actually been mentioned here tonight. 1981, less than a year after ACT's first production, entering the American Association of Community Theaters ACFest. The state festival was held in Sioux Falls. ACT won and advanced to the regionals, held in Topeka, Kansas. That was with 2 one-acts, On the Footsteps of Doves and I'm Herbert, from the show You Know I Can't Hear You When the Water's Running. At those regionals in Topeka, the show received a standing ovation and bravos from the audience after our performance. A moment very early in my career that I have never forgotten. So many truly wonderful memories. Taking Honk through the state, regional, national festival, and then the international festival representing the United States in Toyama, Japan. A cast of 22 in the and an international theater experience not to be forgotten. I have never been so proud of that cast and crew, and I will never forget my little ducklings who have all grown into beautiful swans. And of course, every single local production, from the first days at the Johnson Fine Arts Center to the Lumber Company, to the Elks Club, to the Best Western Ramkota Convention Center, and then on this historic Capitol Theater stage, our home, for 32 years. I want to thank the volunteer board of directors, current and past, for their constant, unwavering support. The current board president, Linda Bartholomew, vice president David Nicholas, secretary Kurt Wishmeyer, treasurer Kathy Stuck. Somebody get me a Kleenex. It's on the shelf of the podium. Oh. You planned so well. Treasurer Kathy Stock and directors at large, Linda Bettine, Kelly Comstock, Barb Evans, and Barb McGarrah. And the former board members who are here tonight, Rory King, who is still our legal counsel, Greg McGarrah, Warren Redmond, Larry Wild, and Ramona Woodman. I certainly hope I didn't leave anyone off that list who is actually here tonight. But even so, please, all board members, stand and allow me to applaud you, for without your leadership, ACT would not be where it is today, which means I would not be here at this party. So thank you. Please stand. And my thanks to these and all volunteers who have truly become members of my very extended family. Thank you for helping me fulfill my life by being a part of my dream here at ACT. And my staff, current and past, some of whom are here tonight. Each and every one of you from the current staff, Brian, Stephen, Teresa, Paige, Claire, and Zach, as well as projectionist Catherine, and all the previous 33 staff, including Lori, Rhonda, Mary, Heidi, Gary, and Heather. All I consider dear friends and an integral part of this extraordinary journey to the Capitol Theater being our home. We have been through a lot, and I so appreciate each of you doing your best to make me look good, and God knows that wasn't easy. It is the personal stories of each of the staff, but even more importantly, each and every volunteer that I have ever interacted with, that for me really makes this a true community theater. You know, growing up, I never dreamt that I would be able to make my life's work here in my hometown, and each and every one of you have been a part of that dream, and I am most grateful. And because I never say thank you enough, thank you, thank you, thank you. You are and always have been very special to me. And now, to something a bit more uplifting and even historic that involves the past and the future. I'd like to publicly announce that although we instigated it more than 5 years ago, my siblings and I started the Lyle and Rosemary Walker Family Charitable Remainder Trust, which in about 10 years will yield approximately $500,000 to benefit ACT. I want to publicly thank my family, certainly my parents, Lyle and Rosemary, whom without their steadfast, constant, loving support, I would never have been able to pursue theater at all. And my siblings, my sisters Diane, Linda, Nyla, and brothers Jerry and Joel, for all agreeing to initiate the Walker Family Charitable Remainder Trust with me, really supporting me and my life's work, Also, of course, realizing the ultimate benefit to the Aberdeen Community Theater and my love for it. They will have a fit, but I would like my two sisters who are here to stand and be recognized for their generous contribution. Thank you. I love you very much. And that was the beginning. Then, Jerry, my dear patient husband, well, at least sometimes. Well, it's been known to happen. Well, he did wait 33 years for me to marry him, so I guess that's patience enough. Anyway, Jerry and I also developed the James L. Walker and Jerry J. Oleg Miller Charitable Remainder Trust, which will also primarily benefit ACT. Unlike the Lyle and Rosemary Walker Family Trust, which investments will be the property of ACT in about 10 years, the Walker Oleg Miller Trust will also benefit ACT, but they'll have to wait a little longer. Well, at least I hope so, because it doesn't get executed until Jerry and I have both passed. So you can understand why I want more than like maybe 10 years. But no one ever knows. So, anyway, at this time, I am happy to say that the Walker Oleg Miller Trust will be worth approximately $1 million at that time. Now, I know you all realize that that $1 million fund did not come from my salary here at ACT. Surprise, surprise. Rather from investments and from the sale of land. Once again, I want to publicly thank and acknowledge my dear friend and mentor for more than 30 years, Don Hall, who passed away in 2008. One of the founding members of the Aberdeen Community Theater, who helped me become who I am during my entire adult life to that time, and contributed to make this $1 million charitable remainder trust for ACT a reality. I can say that I have tried during my tenure at ACT to base every decision on what is best for the Aberdeen Community Theater. And I've always striven to make the best decision and do the best job possible for whatever task was at hand, given whatever current resources, human and financial, that were available. And sometimes the lack of the latter influenced my decision to pursue this and to pursue support, excuse me, of ACT with these charitable remainder trusts. Eventually, it will be easier in the future without the nagging financial questions looming to continue the growth of ACT. Of course, at that point, I will be gone and soon forgotten. But rest assured, I will haunt this place. So beware anyone who dares try to destroy through ignorance or negligence what we have built. Please continue to support your community theater, now as well as in estate planning, through your will and even charitable remainder trusts. And I know a good lawyer who can help you with that, if you'd like. Once again, thank each and every one of you for coming. I am truly and extremely grateful to count you as my friends. So please stay. I believe we have some dessert. Is that? Oh, God help me. I will turn it back over to Brian. Thank you. I believe so. So you can just sit, stand, kneel, or lie down as you prefer. We do have one last thing, one last story. Jim, I remember about 10 years ago, you and I were working on the designs and the plans for the movie theater space over on the other side of the building, and you mentioned it was going to be called Theater B. And being the respectful employee who always told the line, I looked at you and went, what a stupid name. Why the hell would you call it that? You answered that you were hoping that the name would be blasé enough that someone would want to make a substantial contribution to give it a real name. But because you had not really gotten me involved in these larger campaigns yet, I had no idea what constituted a substantial gift. So I asked, like, what, $10,000? $20,000? And then it was your turn to say, and that's where he left the conversation. So we gave you opportunity tonight to talk about the current capital campaign to usher in this beautiful facility into its next 100 years. And I could not help but think, for those of you that do not know, the Capitol Theater was first conceived, built, and operated by a gentleman named Harry Walker. No relation, but how serendipitous that a Walker started the theater's first 100 years, and a Walker is ushering in the next 100 years. And you know, that got me thinking a little bit more. I did drift a little bit. You've often said that without Don Hall, there would be no Aberdeen Community Theater, and that is absolutely true. But it can be argued also, as evidenced by everyone gathered here tonight, that there would be no Aberdeen Community Theater without Jim Walker, at the very least, not what it is today. So I'll invite you to think back for just a moment. Your very first time walking into this theater, this hall, when ACT finally took ownership of it, and how you must have felt. As Linda Bettine so eloquently put it, all the years of gum stuck to the floor. The yellowing of the hideous Art Deco paneled walls. What a long road ahead, but what tremendous excitement. Every single person here tonight knows that restoring this place, this particular hall, went far above and beyond the other duties as assigned as listed in your job description. And not just this building, but the entire Aberdeen Community Theater organization. If one were to place a monetary value on the extra time, the sweat equity, the value of the in-kind donation adjusted for today's dollars, the value would certainly be approaching hundreds of thousands of dollars for sure, maybe even breaking the seven-figure threshold. Well, you taught me a long time ago that we do have to assign a dollar value to in-kind donations, and yours has been a substantial in-kind donation. Substantial enough for a name. And so, since there would be no Aberdeen Community Theater without Jim Walker,
And since there would be no Aberdeen Community Theater without Don Hall, the Board of Directors of Act 2, doing business as Aberdeen Community Theater, have unanimously decided that from this day forward, that the main auditorium of the Capitol Theater, this hall, shall be henceforth known as Walker Hall. We commissioned local Aberdeen artists, Nick and Nicole Fisher, to create this portrait. I'd like to thank them and acknowledge them now. This portrait will have a permanent home and a place of prominence in the Capitol Theater lobby as the next round of renovations takes place. And don't worry, you get, as a lovely parting gift, a signed print of your own. Oh my goodness. And you can hang that behind Jerry's seat in the motor coach. I would also like to thank the many people who assisted and advised me with the redesign of the lobby, including Jim's favorite decorator, Kathy Stuck, Al Keller of Keller Cabinets in Wallace, South Dakota, for being willing to assist me with the refabrication of some of the lobby woodwork, former YPT student and ACT volunteer turned architect, Julia Fredrickson, for helping us visualize the redecoration of the lobby, complete with renderings that I'll show you later. And to the ACT Board of Directors, who came up with the idea and signed off on the lobby redesign, and for personally financing the entire endeavor. So please join me in thanking them at this time. Finally, on behalf of the ACT Board of Directors and staff, I'd like to thank you all for joining us tonight. Please feel free to stay and celebrate as long as you like. Mary Cahey made cupcakes, and they're available in the Jane West Gallery. Thank you, Mary. If you would like to stick around and visit with Jim and perhaps take a photo with him in front of his swanky new portrait, we invite you to use these stairs on the house left side that has the railing. Join him on stage. Tracy Vogel will be on hand to snap a few photos, and we'll find a way to get them to you. Thank you, Tracy, for doing that. And then we'll invite you to exit stage right through the shop, which will lead you back to the Jane West Gallery. Thank you all once again for joining us for a curtain call for Jim Walker. Thank you all so much. Good night.